So over the weekend, I was lucky enough, or I guess made some decisions, and saw the movie The Fate of the Furious, which is, for those that don't know, the latest movie in the Fast and Furious franchise. And what blew my mind in that movie was that there's a huge plot point that had to do with the Internet of Things, which, as you may or may not know, I'm all about. What was incredibly interesting to me is that what they were doing was grabbing hold of something in popular culture and making it, that's what movies do, is they look at popular culture and they see what's interesting and what's new and different and fold that into storylines. Ever since war games, where, hacking into a government terminal and starting a world war was a threat in the 80s. They thought about that as something that was scary and that could potentially happen. And while that hasn't come to bear, there have been security threats in the cyberspace. If you look at Stuxnet, which is a government created malware that goes into people's computers and can, look through their cameras. If you look at the NSA, there's a lot of security issues with some of the breaches they found and haven't disclosed. So there's, in popular culture, in movies, they often look at the what ifs of technology and they say, let's explore this, let's see what would happen if this were to be reality. And when it comes to The Fate of the Furious, spoilers ahead, there's a agent, like a rogue agent, someone who's, out there just a terrorist, I guess, if you want to put it that, cyber terrorist named Cypher, and she hijacks a bunch of cars remotely and directs them to drive and create this river of cars, and it's all for political means. But it was very interesting because in the movie they use Chryslers and Dodges and Fiats, which is a product placement. But recently, in the past year, maybe even in the past 6 months, Jeep has been, who's under that umbrella of car manufacturers, has been under fire because they had a vehicle that could be hacked into. And I'll put a link in the description, but it's just, all these things are very interesting to me because we're not that far away from that being able to happen. And like war games back in the 80s, it really does bring to the surface some questions about how much technology we should involve into our everyday lives without knowing how secure it is. The one thing that keeps cropping up in the Internet of Things is security, and it's the fact that is a major plot point in a blockbuster film shows me that not only are us people who are in the technology world worried about it, average everyday people who work in industries that are not directly related to technology, I mean every industry, if it's not already, will be, but it's interesting that speaks to them as a fear, and it's something that is being shown in popular culture. So, if you've seen the movie, let me know in the comments, and if you haven't yet, go see it. It's an interesting take on the Internet of Things and how it can affect our everyday lives. If you're Vin Diesel, that is, I guess. But yeah, very interesting.